All right. So I've got a match with Poodigne and Piecetinker coming up.
Piecetinker is an American. He is an author for 5 shots. He wants to get into game design, and he is a husband and a father of one. He has 2 top 8 Bash finishes very early on in this season, actually. He was pulling out a deck that really no one else had quite put their finger on, and it sort of shook things up early on, switching out Angus for Torque Slam Sticks and playing a slightly different variation of Ruby. But Ruby has fallen out of favor since Lasgar's is gone, so let's see what he's brought to the table today. I know last week he was... Actually, can't remember what he was running last week. Oh. I'm sure it wasn't this, though. So we have a Sapphire Ruby on the bottom here, Dreaming Fox as the champion. We see Sabertooth, a couple of Focus, and a Heart's Whisper. And then on the top here we see a pretty standard Ardent Crusader style lineup here. Harazza the Incinerator is the champion, and the Crusader and the Heart of Embers in hand there as well. So yeah, pretty standard affair from Piecetinker up top, but it's a good deck, and it has been doing very well. Oh, I remember. He was running Reanimator last week, and it didn't go so well. It's a powerful deck, but it's inconsistent. Has a few holes, chinks in its armor, as it were. So resources on both players' sides here. A slow shard for Poodigne, which means that those focus aren't really kicking off till next turn, but that's probably fine. We see what looks like a Moonrise Elder come into the hand of Piecetinker there.
Just so many good value Valor Ardent troops.
Runic Upheaval is an interesting card to see as well. So Guidance comes down. Obviously, all of those cards are 3 or 4 costs currently in Piecetinker's hand, so he's not really doing anything until next turn, other than using those Guidance to filter his way through the deck. And we do see that weave into nothing here, which is probably, unless the Heart's Whisper is played, going to come into play next turn.
Looks like Poodigne decides to hold up the 3 resources.
Oh, there's a spicy one. Livant coming into the hand there for Piecetinker on top of all of this.
A 5-cost dragon. It'll summon some Candlekin for you if it connects with the opponent. Here's the Runic Upheaval.
And a dingle just in time for that Livant. We will see a play here this turn, unopposed, but the Livant does have a potential answer in the hand there. So that is the charge gain socket there, pushing Harazza up to 7 charges to get that banner down straight away. Resource off the top, and Runic Upheaval triggers once more. So yeah, I mean, there are a couple of things to do here. One of those things is throw a Sabertooth at the Elder and hold up the Dingle. So we see Conjurer come down. Conjurer does have a Valor. So that's going to be a 4-2 with speed right away here. There's that Dingle. Crusader.
The Intrepid Conjurer, not a big enough threat, even with that Harazza banner to give +1 attack and speed to all your troops to trigger the Dingle, but the Ardent Crusader looked to be the thing to do it on.
So Runic Upheaval here doing some work, allowing some card draw and some removal at the same time. Dingle's in the hand, but it's not available to stop this Livant if it comes down. And there's the first Candlekin of potentially many. And the Dingler is putting in work this game. Normally a 0-1, but thanks to Haraza's banner, this Dingler is a 1-1, and it's pushing through some damage here. Sabertooth is a really nice draw here.
Able to do 5 damage to that Livanth, take it out. Not before that swarm of Candlekin appears. Fortunately, Scars of War does 2 damage to each champion of troop. If they were to survive that, they also get the text. This does not heal at the end of your turn.
So we have Embers, Conjurer, and Valor. 3 to the face. No resources open here for Poodigne, and that means GG. And the Valor Ardent deck has pushed through this time. But yeah, a lot of interesting stuff there.
Heart of Embers making your Valor deal 3 damage to target champion or troop. In addition to all those pretty large mid-range sized troops getting speed and +1 attack, that Haraza power, the Haraza banner, can definitely threaten to end a game very quickly.
What we saw there as well was there was a lot of removal being played on what was on the board, but there was so much left in hand for Piecetinker. Like, he just had gas for days, essentially. What was interesting, though, was the Scars of War. Like, it actually did put in some work there. The Livanth was taken out by the Sabertooth, and then all of the remaining Candlekin were taken out too. It's an interesting main deck choice.
All right, game 2 of Piecetinker and Poodigne is up. Piecetinker was on the draw and will remain on the draw. Poodigne down 1 game in this match. Will need to win this one to get a good start to today's HEX Bash.
We have a Hero of Legend, 4 resources, and 2 Livanth for Piecetinker. Not a bad looking hand, honestly, and we have some decent stuff over here for Poodigne too. A Runic Upheaval, a Weave into Nothing, a Psychic Ascension, a Dread End, which is a card we don't see very often, but it's something that we might see more of in the coming weeks with Kagalichu so prominent, and a Thunderfield Seer as well. It reverts and transforms each troop into a Dreadling, which does mean you're going to be taking some damage, but ultimately those Dreadlings will sacrifice themselves at the end of the turn.
It's a lot of removal, as well as Runic Upheaval, which draws cards and gives it, and if you draw a non-resource, the text, deal its cost and damage to target champion or troop when you play this. It's a lot of removal, but not too many threats. But Dread End this time might be able to turn a big board into Dreadlings. Get rid of transformations, Valors, what have you. But Piecetinker's hand isn't particularly fast right now. But I mean, a Livanth staying on the board and connecting for a bunch of Candlekin is a board as well. Thunderfield Seer, played by Poodigne, will Prophecy, the top card of Dreaming Fox's deck, the top action, whatever action is next, to also draw a card. Super solid Sapphire Troop. Also well positioned to take out the more aggressive small threats, or at least be a chump blocker. Hero of Legend is going to be woven into nothing. Poodigne with the on the play, able to keep 3 open to stop the opposing Piecetinker's 3-cost play. What happens after this? Piecetinker hasn't picked up anything yet besides the Livanth. He'll have resources. He'll get there. Guidance will help. He'll Fate Weave, then draw a card. Pulls a non-resource. It will be a Moonrise Elder. Won't be able to be played today as this turn as a 4-cost. That gives Poodigne the opportunity to play Runic Upheaval. Picks up a resource, though.
Yeah, nothing on board right now means that Heart's Whisper seems like an okay play. The Sabertooth effect there is not something that can be used as a quick effect. There's not much use now. There are 2 of them, though. Those Livanths probably aren't surviving too long by the look of things here. Primordial Sabertooth is a huge chunk of damage to any troop for a reasonably low cost. very powerful, and then it becomes a legitimate threat as well if it comes down onto the board late game.
Live on the tax, summons a Candlekin.
Sometimes your best removal is a troop.
Live on takes damage, summons 5 Candlekin and die. This time we don't have Scars of War in Pooding's hand, only a Cremate. Cremate takes out 1. A second Candlekin's taken out. They're not doing too much right now, but
They are not. So he's thinking, I've got this Livanth, I've got a bunch of Candlekins. I can illuminate here, get a bunch of 2/2s down, but obviously Dingle says no to that. And instead, we're just left with these Candlekins. 4 damage isn't too bad, but
yeah.
The other
Very
problem
controlling
here,
deck.
It is a very controlling deck. The problem here is that Dread End is not a good option. Like, there are threats on the board that Poodigne can't effectively deal with right now. With any reasonable value. He's not going to use a Sabertooth on these 1/1s. He's not going to use Dread End on these 1/1s. So he's taking this damage regardless, which does mean that potentially Explosive Harasser can actually put in some work regardless, because this damage is being done, and it's going to slowly whittle away that health pool of Poodigne.
Even on that board alone, that banner is 5 additional damage on those Dinglers and 4 Candlekin.
Yeah, it's pretty huge, and Dread End here is not much better either. It's still the same problem because these are all 1/1s. Down to 8 here, huge swing. We see the Runebind there used on the... Was that an Elder or was it a Heart of Embers?
One of the two. Looks like it was a Moonrise Elder.
Moonrise Elder. So yeah, I mean, it would have come down and done some quick things. Oh, that is probably not good. Ashford Maestro there coming in from the Paragon of Thought effect, but that gives Piecetinker a whole bunch more resources than he previously had, which means that these Valors that are about to be generated are definitely playable, and there's the conceit there. He knows what's going on.
Not only that, the entire board gets speed, and Paragon of Thought is just too late to take care of Harasser getting to 7 charges, summoning that banner, and then hand dumping. And yeah, Scars of War would have been a great at taking out those Candlekin, but Dread End being one of Sapphire's options, not being effective against what Harasser is packing. Would have dealt with the Candlekin after 1 turn, but that 1 turn, taking another 9 damage, too much.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because when I've never really considered Livanth that often as a card that I would want to play, and the Candlekins on damage thing is something that I've never really considered to be that big of a deal. Like, I figured that, if removal happens, a lot of the time it's going to be just direct removal. But with Sabertooth being one of the primary factors for removal, and especially against that deck there, like where the removal is basically Sabertooth and damage from Runic Upheaval, it's actually quite relevant. And it did. That effect alone was a huge component to winning that game for Piecetinker.